Good afternoon, friends, family, and everybody in between. My name's Tom. That's going to be Anatoly. And today, we've got console action. The summer split is over, but we still have to crown a champion. 4 teams are here ready to play, Toly. Going to be an exciting weekend.
2 from each region. I think that there's a lot of surprising things to come soon because a couple teams not showing land presence in the previous split. Now in the summer, we have Revenge, Flashpoint, Astral Authority, and Rival all here today.
Exactly. Astral, kind of the return to what they've been looking like in the past. Strong stuff with the addition of Inbound Bobby, one of the more popular players here. So going to be exciting to watch that transformation. Rival, of course, coming off their spring split win. I'm going to get there someday. And, of course, Revenge. Brand new faces.
That's true. It's going to be interesting to see how they transition into this land. Looking at some of their players there, you see some familiar faces, specifically with Gnome out of that solo lane, Mango out of the jungle, and that's going to be the important side of the map for them to control if they want to find those victories.
Yeah, I'm looking right there in the middle lane. I mean, Ling Xiao, who has been very, very strong here for the squad. Gino, though, also really been impressive. These guys, a lot of them haven't been to land, like you said, with the exception of Gnome. But with that said, I am expecting a lot from these guys, to be honest, Dolly.
Considering that they've played in the online portion, only losing to Rival, it's very difficult to trump the former spring champions. And I think that being consistent scrim partners with a team of that caliber gives you a slight edge, at least over the North America teams once you head into the LAN.
Right. Revenge is going to be taking on Astral a little bit later today, a team that I am really high on. I think that Astral has what it takes to become one of the top teams here. We've seen them do it before, but they didn't win spring. Now, like I said, bringing Bobby back in here, he's always wearing this dumb hat, but whatever he has on top of his head, it's what's inside of that dome that counts. This guy's been a big part of the brain working behind what Astral's been able to do so far.
It's about the chemistry, and between the spring and the summer, it feels like a different team entirely with Bobby in that Guardian position, trying to make the plays happen. Is going to be Wolves in that solo side lane. In the opposite side, Cyprexa and the Hunter has made a good transition.
Yeah, formerly known as Griffin. We've seen him play on the online split, and the console players definitely know him intimately as far as how strong he is. Wolves and Baronic, I've never had a question about these guys. These guys just go and play the game, and they're incredible. And then you go ahead and you add, like you said, Cyprexa and Inbound onto this squad, and totally, I think this Astral Authority team is going to bounce back, and I think this could be as strong as the squad that we used to watch with Brochacho.
They have the talent for sure, but the question still remains is, can they bounce back mentally from the loss that they had in the spring? Because they were in the finals where they did beat Rival in that very first round, but then they lost in the grand finals. They couldn't find that second important set victory to crown themselves the champions.
And, of course, that's going to be later today. Rival and Flashpoint are the first 2 teams that we're going to take a look at. These 2 squads have been very impressive. Rival, of course, being the Spring Split champions, and then Flashpoint coming in and just sort of taking over what the Console League has been able to do. They've got a player that hasn't been to land just yet. Cameron has yet to really show his face here. But everybody else, I mean, Michael, Checo, Matt Koiz, Jumpahhh, and Delnyy, these guys certainly no stranger to land competition.
Outside of the question mark in the middle, I think that the other 4 players have enough experience collectively to be able to have the answer for the middle lane. As long as that there's the pressure from Jumpahhh, which is known to occur multiple times. He's the world defending champion alongside Delnyy in that Myth roster. I think that land experience will definitely help as long as Panda Mid is right around the corner to look to follow up.
Yeah, Delnyy over there on the right side might look like a SoundCloud rapper, but he certainly got a lot more clout than he looks. This guy over there in solo lane has been incredible. I've loved watching him, and I like watching his interactions with the community as well. Way back when the Console League was first starting, he was kind of just streaming the open brackets, really wanted to bring everybody to the forefront, and it's been honestly just as the commentator, you watch the competition side of things, but also the personality side, and watching this guy go from honestly, just a kid that sat in my chat to a guy that competed at the highest level and now winning world championships. I mean, this guy is certainly looking to bounce back in the summer.
I mean, competitive Smite, competitive esports in general, it definitely matures you throughout as you're traveling to these competitions and as you're finding the victories. You're learning a lot about yourself and as your team collectively, and the synergy there between, I think, Jumpahhh and Delnyy is going to help elevate this roster to maybe even past the first round. round.
Well, it's possible, but they will have a rival across the way. See, I got that one too. The Spring Split champions. What else can you say about these guys? The Pentakid himself, a Porsche Coast, DineOhSaw, Fly, Rapio, Predators. These guys, and I love talking about this. This is the second generation of the console squads. We see them at Koiz's, and we see all these players that have been here since minute one. Matt Koiz has won a whole bunch of LANs. These guys have only won one LAN, but they've been involved for a much shorter period of time than some of these other players, and watching their ascent to the top totally has been exciting because it happened so quickly.
It's very true. There's two impressive things about Rival for me. Is number one is how the fact that they fought through the lower bracket after losing to Astral and then defeating them in the grand finals. And then number two is after that post-LAN victory, they didn't just slouch at all. They were still on fire. They went undefeated in the European online portion.
And that was the biggest question was, all right, so the team, of course they kind of win through the lower bracket because that's what happens when nobody has any expectations of you, right? There was no expectations of the squad. They come out and they win, and they go, all right, boys, y'all have won. Now you go into the online split. Can you keep? Oh, you absolutely can keep it up.
Yeah.
We're sorry for asking. Now we're here at the second LAN. And I think, Totally, if the summer split went any other direction, the question we'd be asking would be, can they keep it up? Can they keep it going? Will they find another win? But after watching the summer split, I don't think that's a question anymore. I think the question is just, they're a top team, and how are they going to perform?
I think that they're feeling themselves a lot. You could tell by the post-LAN interview of how Rapio was just very emotional, how much it meant to him, and I think that carried a lot for them in the online portion. I think it's going to transition very well in the summer LAN.
Well, I mean, this was a squad that they came as an entire unit, and they left Osric behind to pick up Rapio and accelerate themselves as far as going up into the nicer organization, right? And Rapio's just been fighting for this forever, so it's almost due.
Absolutely. I think that this is the victory that he's looking for, number two. Like, no, the first one is good and fine and dandy, but the question always is going to be, can you repeat this performance? And more importantly, take that momentum into HRX.
Rival and Flashpoint are going to be coming up for our first matchup. And as we take a look at the bracket, we'll see them starting the day. Astral and Revenge will then play a little bit later, and then we'll get into the winners of these two matches.
It's going to be impressive to see how these teams fight each other because there's different identities, different styles between each and every team. The way Flashpoint and Rival have to prepare for each other is going to be completely different than how Astral Authority and Revenge prepare for each other. And whoever wins that match, advancing to the winner's bracket, is going to be an important telltale sign.
Yeah, and 4 matches today. Not only the losers, not only the winners, but also the losers we'll see later on. I actually get to jump on the mic for the losers matchup, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Whether it's going to be Rival or Flashpoint is a question that we'll have to figure out. But before we get into the action, we did get a chance to catch up with Rival. Let's see what they had to say about their first match.
Good morning, Team Rival. Today, you guys are going to face off against Flashpoint. Let's look back. First of all, you guys won the spring LAN. Coming into summer, a lot of people would have you down as favorites. Do you guys yourselves see yourselves as favorites at the moment?
No. First answer, no. A lot of people said that the first one was a fluke. We've completely kept the underdog mentality. We don't think we're going to win this LAN. We're confident in our ability, but AA need to prove everyone wrong. AA need to prove that this new roster is good enough to beat us, and we're more than happy for AA to try to do that. And at the moment, we're sitting there quite comfortably, but no egos.
No, I'm glad you bring up Astral because, with you all being there in Europe, I mean, you do get to play up against, Revenge, some of those other teams, but, I mean, you had a very easy time through the summer split, at least it looked that way. How do you all prepare for these North American teams? You don't get to play against them as often.
Honestly, it's really difficult. The standard of practice at home isn't great. Teams who don't make it don't play anymore, disbanding all the time in Europe. And even the team that came with us, it was hard to get them to play as they're just not interested. So our level of prep shouldn't be even comparable to the NA teams. But like I say, we're still feeling confident in what we can do. I hope it turns out okay.
Obviously, you guys just mentioned Astral. Do you feel they're the biggest opposition in North America here at this tournament? I mean, a lot of people have been talking about Flashpoint too. Who are your first opposition?
Yeah, we're not looking over Flashpoint. What we've had from AA is we've seen quite a lot of good things. We still think AA is going to be our biggest competition, but we think it's very close between Flashpoint and AA.
Well, definitely look forward to watching you all throughout this tournament. Good luck here in your match up against Flashpoint, which we'll see here.
Rival saying very humble there. You heard Joey almost questioning if his team would actually win the LAN, but not questioning his team's level of prowess, which I think is a very interesting approach, but something I've come to expect out of Coach Joey. Joey's a guy that kind of jumped on the scene. To be honest, I didn't really know him before too many of the lands, but I've really begun to respect the way that he looks at the game and the competition.
And he understands the fact that this is a clash of metas between Europe and North America, whether it's PC or console. Different region means different picks and bans in general, and I think that Joey has his homework cut out for him. When you're constantly fighting against Revenge and beating them, that's all fine and dandy. Yeah, you're #1 in your region, but what can you really do against some of these North American teams? Flashpoint has such talent in their roster that any one little mistake you give to Flashpoint, they're going to capitalize and really run away with it.
And what makes these smaller lands harder, it's interesting when you think about it, because there's only 4 teams here at this land, but totally, I would argue that this is almost more difficult than dealing with a much larger 6, 8 team, 10 team land, and I'll tell you why. Because when you're looking at those bigger cast of characters, there's a meta that a lot of teams will buy into. When it's only 4 teams, totally, it's much less about these meta games and more about individual team play styles. And so you're prepping for 3 individual opponents with individual skill sets.
And considering that it's going to be best of 3s up until the grand finals, you will have that second chance if you do get knocked down early. And Rival have proven that they can go through that side in the last Springland, but I don't think that they want to go through that journey yet again. I think that it's their time to shine, go through this undefeated the same way they did in the online phase.
Yeah, you heard Joey talking about Flashpoint very respectfully, saying we're not looking over Flashpoint. Flashpoint is absolutely a force to be reckoned with, and the team that they're certainly prepared for. Astral might be their more direct opposition, so to speak, but Flashpoint, their first match, a very good team, and Joey definitely ready for it.
I think Flashpoint are ready for Rival as well. I think that we're going to be able to see what they had to say as well.
Yeah, let's catch up with Flashpoint and see how they're preparing for this first match.
Hey, what's up, guys? Jumpahhh and Matt Koiz coming out repping Flashpoint. First of all, congratulations making it here to LAN. You guys are pretty comfortable here, but you got a new player. Talk to me a little bit about how you're going to gear up your new player for LAN.
Well, Cameron, yeah, this is his first LAN, but I think he's fine. You know, if you watch the split, he's like one of our more consistent players. So, I mean, him being a question mark at this first LAN is, you know, it's a solid view to take, but I think he's fine. I think he's played some scrims and stuff. I think he's comfortable now, so we're fine.
Seems that you have the question marks answered. But going into your very first set, you guys have to face the spring winners Rival. Are you worried about them at all, or are you just more concerned about your own gameplay?
I mean, you know, winning a LAN is a great accomplishment, and they are the returning LAN champions. But you know, I've won 6 of them, so I've won more than all of them combined. So I'm not really afraid at all. And honestly, I think they should be afraid of us.
Is there a difference between NA and EU meta?
I don't know. I mean, like, I guess not. I guess we all pick the same top gods and stuff, but not really.
Yeah, we pick the same kind of gods and comps, but I think they play way more passive for the late game team fights rather than we like to kind of invade more. I feel play the early game out more. So I think that's kind of the differences between them.
Thank you so much, guys, for your time, Jumpahhh and Matt Koiz. Good luck in your first opponent, Rival.
Totally. I love the way Matt Koiz put that. He's like, look, I've won 6 lands. I've won more lands than all of these guys put together. I think that really shows just how long Matt Koiz has been in the scene.
And it also goes to show how poorly Europe has been throughout the scene. North America has been a dominant staple inside the console scene, but finally turning a page in a new chapter in the spring split, Rival were able to find the victory for not only themselves, but for all of Europe. Matt Koiz, always confident, always emotional in his gameplay.
Always passionate.
Definitely shows in the battlefield.
That's something that I'm always looking forward to. Picks and bans, also what I'm looking forward to. Game number 1. Rival and Flashpoint. Rival, of course, will have the first pick. And, you know, before we move on, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears Matt Koiz have put into this one. Emphasis on the tears. I'm an emotional guy myself. You know, I always look at James Chen from the fighting game community. I love to see that level of passion. I love to see it. Win or lose, Matt Koiz is leaving it all out there on the battlefield. And I think that's a major, major point for FP here going forward. You know, there's obviously how well you push the buttons and play the game totally, but that mental fortitude that I'm here to win. Getting knocked down to the lower bracket is going to be tough, but I think if you're Matt Koiz and if Flashpoint do have trouble here, that him and his team will be able to trudge past.
And he uses that emotion to fuel him and drive him forward, and I think that that's what helped him transition into this Flashpoint roster alongside Michael Checo to look so very clean, I think, in North America, only losing to Astral.
Absolutely. First round of bans are in. Odin first ban. Interesting first ban there, kind of dictating what Rival want to do. The Jumpahhh, a very strong pick overall. Athena, I think an evergreen character. She's always worth banning or picking. And then the Chernobog. Interesting. I found Chernobog being more effective at the mid to less organized level. But here we've seen what Cyprexa could do, so maybe Flashpoint across the way are kind of thinking, or Rival are thinking that Michael Checo has the same sort of prowess.
It's very possible. And Rival are probably picking gods without leaps or escapes, and that's why they go for the Odin ban right off the bat. Whether it's Artemis, Chernobog, or Ram, those are your normally, or Xbalanque also, those are your top 400 picks, and all 4 of them will get trapped in that cage. So a good ban looking to protect the MVP, honestly. Vaporish Coast out of Rival has made a lot of plays. So if you protect that young gun in the duel lane, I think Rival has the keys to success.
Gab's going to certainly work out with protecting that hunter. And Artemis there, I mean, Vaporish Coast plays a very classic hunter. Ignore him for 15 minutes, and then you can't ignore him after that, right? He is not looking for the early game kills. He'll get the pressure if he wants, but late game he shows up with the multi-kills, and that's what allows Rival to really transition into the late game. But it will be tough with Raijin and Terra across the way, totally paired up with the Daji. Flashpoint gearing up for late game as well.
They're definitely thinking about ways of shutting down that dual lane. Gab is going to make it a little difficult with the stone shields, but I think Jumpahh's mobility throughout the map, given Terra's Earth and Fury to swing teamfights in Flashpoint's favor, they have also some key components to get the first jump on it. As long as Flashpoint can kind of engage first, maybe find like that 2 to 5 second window where DineOhSaw's Geb is not involved in the action, they can easily start winning these teamfights.
Raven ban coming out from the black and white. Definitely a strong look. Rapio played this the majority of his wins the last time we saw these guys play at LAN. Whether it was picked or banned against him, the Raven has proven to be very, very strong. Flashpoint across the way will have the Chang'e banned against them, something that Delnyy has shown a lot of prowess on as well.
A lot of players, both in console and PC, have started to kind of forget about Raven simply because of that level 1 through 3 clear, not as fast as some other junglers, but still, if you're looking to play aggressive, Raven is normally your go-to jungler. He can easily get in and out of any sort of tower dive potential.
And I love his level 2 gank as well. The level 2 gank, very real. And the Kuzenbo ban, very real. I already see y'all memeing in chat. I'm not looking at it, I just know that for a fact. With that said, the Turtle Man, one of Delny's more powerful picks, all jokes aside. And when you've got a character like Artemis who really relies on those critical strike builds, I mean, the Kuzenbo is such a punishing force.
Reflect damage is obnoxious to deal with as a late game hunter. So protecting Vaporish Coast a little bit further. Also, going to be allowing Predators simply to play a little bit more of an aggressive warrior and not have to worry about getting punished by the Kuzenbo, getting sumo slammed under the opposing tower.
Kakullin's still going to punish people, though.
Every now and then, sure.
That's, and see, that, I don't ever devalue the, don't ever underestimate the value of the weird pocket picks. And for what it's worth, we're in picks and bans, so I'm not allowed to get in my soapbox, but Kuzenbo, just underplayed in the world of late game hunters that we have right now. You routed off 400, Xbalanque, all of those are late game characters. The reflect damage is obnoxious. We don't see enough Kuzenbo.
I think I agree with you. I think that he has his time and a place in certain metas. I think that transitioning into the mid game, not always as clean and as effective compared to other warriors, but if you can get there, then yeah, Kuzenbo becomes that Sobek or Athena that has a lot of control in team fights and isolates that one individual target just to get him out of the fight.
And so you look at what Delny's able to do, make a statement on a weird oddball character, force the ban, and then he gets Kakullin, 4th pick. Like, that is a wonderful look and kind of why you kind of looking for those specialists. Rival, Artemis and Geb dual lane, Discordia in the middle, Rat in the middle of everything, and Hercules in the short side. Ho Yi and Terra will make up the dual lane for Flashpoint. Kakullin in the hands of Delnyy. and Daji and Raijin in the jungle and mid specifically. We're going late game, boys. Ain't no question about that.
Both of these teams have great team fighting components between the Terra control, Hu Yi, a lot of slows with the Suns. Daji is going to be looking to isolate targets while the Taiko drums are going to be coming through for Cameron. But on the other side, Rival, they have some key components for the team fights. Discordia is going to be looking to amplify some early game damage with that passive. Probably looking at one of those side laners, whoever's going to be more aggressive, whether it's Predators or Vapourish Coast. And then the global pressure coming through Rapio's Ratatasker. Whichever side lane is going to be more impactful. I think that Rapio leans on that side lane to look for some invades.
Yeah, if I'm Rival, I'm Artemis and Hercules. I'm telling them not to do damage. I want Ratatasker to have that Discordia passive in the early game. Even before Rat hits level 5, he's such a monster if he looks for those early game ganks, if he looks for those early invades. And that's sort of next level, but I think Rival, well, Vape might be a little bit sleepy, but I don't think their gameplay will be anything like that. So maybe they can bring that to the other side. But Flashpoint, I love the interaction between Terra and Raijin here. You pop the ultimate on, and you need 4 full hits to break those stones and do the extra damage. But Raijin, almost all of his abilities are channeled and will break those stones quicker than some of the other choices.
It's very true, and I think that the Terra and Raijin combination, there's so much control with Terra alone that should set up all the Raijin shots. The damage coming through for Cameron could be really high very quickly if left unchecked. So if DineOhSaw is not around the corner for those stone shields, Rival is going to get just outright bursted. And that's going to be the key for both of these teams is can Flashpoint burst someone down and can Rival mitigate it fast enough and reset the team fight?
Yeah, the Terra, the interaction with the Raijin, the Daji, a dot-based character as well. Hu Yi with the Sun, so much interaction there with the Terra Stones. Really intelligent choices picked around the Guardian there. Rival, on the other hand, kind of the opposite. Flashpoint putting their first foot forward with Terra, saying, all right, we're looking for extra damage. The Guardian is going to be a guy that's going to really amplify us. And Geb for Rival is the opposite. Everybody else going to do the damage, and I'm just going to shield and make sure to peel and keep my carries alive.
And outside of team fights, you also got to look at the early laning phases. Terra, not the greatest at the early level ones, but she has that mechanic where she can block some of her minions from the Phoenix area to just delay it for about 5 seconds or so, allowing Flashpoint to maybe start their own red buff and try to look for that boxing potential, because with Artemis passive change no longer having that critical strike every now and then, it's a lot easier to deal with her.
Certainly true. I mean, Artemis here is still one of the better choices here for Vapourish Coast. As we said, we lovingly call this guy the Penta Kid. Short in stature, but very, very tall in gameplay. Showed up, got a pentakill, then a couple of games later defended his Titan 1 versus 5, got 4 kills there. I mean, this guy certainly no slouch. And the biggest question that has been answered is, was he a fluke? Can he do it again? And very, very quickly, like I said, the next game, I think he wound up with a multi-kill. So this guy is the real deal and one of the more exciting players on the side of Rival.
I think it was him specifically that allowed the birthright of Myth into the console world champions. And Jumpahhh was actually standing like a statue watching that game. And now he has to face Vapourish Coast. He's like, thank you, buddy. Last time you helped us get to Worlds, but this time I got to win it.
Yeah, I mean, the Artemis, the Uller, whatever Vape is playing always looks good. But I remember that. That was incredible. Myth Gaming was trying to get into the World Championship. And just bear with us, we're getting our players into game here, so story time. They were trying to get to the World Championship last fall, and it all wound up on another team. And so you had, it was funny watching the personalities come out, because Bobby Inbound was playing support for that team. He was standing on chairs, he was screaming. I mean, I've got video. He was just yelling at the and then you have Jumpahhh. This is my reenactment of Jumpahhh for a 54-minute game. Just standing there going like this.
Just watching the whole time.
He didn't move. He didn't speak.
That's the difference of personalities. As a jungler, normally you probably are a little more dynamic because of how many plays you have to be looking for. But no, that's not his personality. but he's looking for those ganks regardless. The difference between IRL versus video games is certainly there for Jumpahhh.
Yeah, I mean, you saw him in the pregame interview. Certainly has a little bit of swagger to him, but he's all business when it comes down to it. He's going to be fun in games before and maybe a little bit after, but when it comes time to play, Jumpahhh has been the guy. People have looked at this guy to really run the jungle. Not the strongest player on the team. I think you got to look towards Panda mid, who's been really, really a beast there in the middle lane, but Jumpahhh, a facilitator for his team nonetheless. He'll be playing the Delnyy today, and very excited to see what he can do with that Powwow.
Not normally known for playing Delnyy very often. Normally more the Robin, the Sarkets, trying to get in there in the back line. Delnyy is certainly capable of doing so, but considering that both of those two gods I just mentioned were banned after the secondary ban, or during secondary ban phase, surprises me because Jumpahhh could have picked those two gods if he really wanted to, or go for some global pressure. That means that he's looking for that early game aggression. Delnyy's late game is there if you can be isolating somebody, but with a Geb on the table, it's going to be more difficult, and I think that was a great counter pick to shut down Jumpahh's aggression.
Yeah, for sure. Don't forget Artemis first pick, Rajan and Daiji across the way, and then the Geb was picked in response. So a lot of what that Powwow can bring by way of control is going to be negated because of the Geb shields. So certainly something that Flashpoint have to be aware of, but at the end of the day, I think between Daiji, Rajan, and even Kakula knockup, which is I don't want to say under-respected, but it's just not looked at. It's not an end result, right?
Sure.
But it still can absolutely control the team fight. Rival, they've only got one Geb shield.
Yeah, and that's going to have to be whoever Jumpahhh goes on. That's going to be the target for DineOhSaw's Stone Shield. And Kakula, you mentioned the knockup. It's also important to mention of how much rage he builds into, because once he uses the knockup, he's just generating that rage to make the transformation and then start using his other forms of control, the ground slam, Taruchu in place, and then being able to just charge whoever he wants into the enemy backline. And with that Warcry, I think that he's going to be able to really make the AoE damage. And speaking of AoE, Hu Yi across the board for Michael Checo is a great team fighting selection to be able to just control space around objectives. It's not just the knockups out of Flashpoint, it's also the late game damage with that Mark of the Golden Crow.
And it's also going to be the objective control. Now, Discordia, not exactly the worst character, but not exactly the best character at, confirming those objectives. And while Raijin doesn't have the raw snipe ability, what you do have on Flashpoint as a whole is the ability to burn these objectives down. Daiji with the Hot Hands passive is going to be able to put on additional dot damage, but then you drop the Suns and the Raijin ultimate, and it goes from 50 to 0 very, very quickly.
You don't even have to try to steal the objective with the Taiko drums. You can use that fear mechanic to be able to push them away from the circle just to reset the objective. It's a very underutilized technique to be able to force a reset, whether it's the Freya banish, the Jingwei knockup, like any of those little intricacies can reset a Gold Fury, which is probably better, honestly, than stealing it because of all the time that they spent trying to confirm the objective until now losing a bunch of health. There's a lot of turnaround potential if you're not careful.
I'm glad you mentioned my bae, Freya. Yeah. Well, it's always funny watching a team just full commit to the Gold Fury. It's down to 30%. Freya walks around, whoops the entire squad because they're grouped up. Gold Fury gets released, and you're just sitting there like, well, we can't go back on it, so we'll walk away. And Freya just walks back to lane.
Yeah, and that's the difference between a lot of these average or better than average teams versus the elite teams. Because the elite teams will keep those little things in the back of their mind. If they're dealing with a Freya, they're like, okay, we can't all group in, but we also need somebody still in the circle a little bit further away so that we both don't get banished at the same time.
And now you got to worry about the Raijin ult, like you mentioned, the Daiji pull. I mean, even Kakula just pushing your tank out of the circle, putting the aggro on your mage or something. There's a lot of nonsense that Flashpoint have specifically around those objectives.
Rival also have the ability to push you with Predators playing his Hercules. When he was playing this in the online of the summer split, he was stealing speed buffs consistently. He would win his lane very commandingly to be able to transition that to stealing away any side of any solo side jungle to also allow his jungler Rapio to just focus on the dual lane.
Yeah, right there we saw Matt Koiz ready to go. Flashpoint and Rival ready to go. Game one. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the broadcast. We're already here live. Myself and Aggro will be bringing you this one. Rival versus Flashpoint. A little bit of a delay there, but it just makes it a bit more exciting for the start of this game. Aggro, the desk was talking a lot about these two teams. I kind of have either one of these, wouldn't it?
These are two of the top contenders for sure to take home this whole LAN. And check this out right off the bat. Predators did this a lot during the online split. How are you going to out-secure a Hercules?
Well, you're going to drive and strike at the right time, and Predators is quite happy to take a bit of poke damage, realizing there's no CC there, right? So quick TP back to lane, and that's going to put Flashpoint behind.
I wonder if next game Matt Koiz is going to head on over to speed buff, because that's what you need is some sort of additional CC to try and prevent that from happening, as Panda mid got poked out quite a bit by Fly in that mid lane. This is the matchup for me to watch, though, Graham, is Fly versus Panda mid. Fly has not only proven that he can play well at LAN, but may have proven that he might just be the best mid laner in the world right now as Panda mid.
Oh, he got it on his own. Rapio was going to try and clean up the kill if needed, but the stars of justice connected. I was going to ask you a question too. Do you reckon? Hang on a second, Jumpahhh. Could take a bit more poke, but Fly, he used to be 50-meter Fly.
I know.
Now he's just Fly. Does that mean he can go past 50 meters now?
It might be. He's
Can
got
he do
the
100?
endurance of a god at this point. But this guy's a beast that really has proven that he's at the top of the top of the list among mid laners. At Panda mid, you know, he's here, had a very good online split, but this is his first LAN experience and had some performances online that make you worry a little bit, and that's not a very good start for Flashpoint's mid laner.
And now with that pressure that Rival have got with the first blood and the speed buff invade, it means they're going to have a bit of an easier time controlling this jungle. Rapio Fly get the left-hand harpies. Oracles are available, but they probably won't be looked at just yet. There may be some more pressure towards mid.
That was Panda mid's beads as well, so that's a really difficult start.
Trap.
Oh, Koiz walks right into that trap. Sprint used by DineOhSaw. Isn't upgraded though, so Vaporish needs to use that slow as Michael Checo's just got to use the body blocks.
Tell you what, Vaporish Coast is on the money with a lot of those basic attacks there that came through. Really helped out whittle down the health bar of Matt Koiz. He will survive though, and with health and multi-potions, he'll sustain back up. Don't forget, you know, obviously, the Guardian's Blessing too gives some sustain from the minions dying.
It does, so he's got plenty of sustain. It's just that he lost lane pressure now. And Hui doesn't have the best early wave clear. Ricochet, definitely not the old wave clear ability that you could bounce it off and get that extra bit of damage. Now it does the same damage throughout. So he doesn't get to clear the wave particularly well. And even though Geb doesn't bring the best of clear, Artemis just has that threat of if you aggress and she gets a crit or two, you're going to end up losing a kill in lane early on. And so a lot of times players will just kind of take it slow against Artemis in lane.
Well, Predators has been pressured in this lane by Delnyy. Thanks to the stop Predators did to put Jumpahhh behind at the start of the game by stealing the speed. But Rapio's on this right-hand side now, stealing away the blue buff from Flashpoint's jungle, and now may look to pressure Delnyy. Is Delnyy still going aggressive?
Delny's awfully healthy, though, and even without his ultimate and a lot of rage for him, it's going to be difficult to bring him down. Delnyy hasn't picked up a relic yet. Take a look at his relic situation. This is something that I really like solo laners doing.
Yeah.
He's kind of gauging the lane. Do I need teleport here? I can always back buy it and teleport right away. You don't have to wait once you buy a relic to use it. Maybe I need a sprint, or maybe a horrific if I see the Predators hasn't gotten a sprint for himself. There are options.
Into the sky goes Rapio's Fly gets aggressive. Panda mid out of mana, jukes out the apple, and the ultimate out of Rapio. Just a second too late from Rapio, I would say. A second too early from Fly at the same time.
Yeah.
And we could have seen another kill.
Fly kind of tips off Panda mid that something's wrong in that spot where you have to take it a little bit slower. That apple will reach that distance. You just have to trust that your jungler is going to set up that CC chain. Panda mid's beads had just come up, so it's the right idea from Rival. Execution just a little bit wonky.
Bit of an awkward start then from Flashpoint in this one, so they're up against it. Rival with a small lead, generally towards the mid and jungle position. Difference is though that the ultimate's now being used as a window for Flashpoint to maybe catch up a bit, continue farming up, hit those level 5s, see if they can turn things around.
Maybe, but Jumpahhh just now hitting level 5 and Panda mid's still only at level 4, so honestly, Fly's ultimate may come up before Panda mid even has a chance to put a point in those Tycho drums with how much more farm Fly is getting at this point. It's the mid-camp control and that early first blood for Fly that has really made the difference.
Now the Joe lanes will slowly ding 5-2, so now all ultimates are available. And we'll see what happens as the Gold Fury spawns in 5 seconds time from now. Early Gold Fury is not something we generally see these days.
No, it's just without the early lifesteal that your hunters need to kind of tank it up, and it's not even worth your time half the time because of that decreased bounty. take some time to ramp up and be that valuable. It's better to put some pressure on the right-hand side and get buffs away from your opposition.
Exactly what's happening now. Rapio going to chase Jumpahhh through the jungle here. Bit of a trade between the two junglers, which Jumpahhh was very respectful of there. He opened the window for Predators to take away the blue. Delnyy unable to secure it, even with his ultimate. He did try and make the play though.
Delnyy cannot step up to this wave very safely. If Predators hits the pull in this spot, Delnyy might not even get a chance to transform. And he realizes that, jumps away at the right time.
I actually think Rapio just gave his position away there, got himself in line of sight of those minions, and Delnyy sniffed out the danger a bit. But the pressure in the solo lane is starting to mount up a little bit now. Predator's level 7. Delny's just a little bit further behind of that with this new minion wave coming in. Jumpahhh currently a level down in the jungle. And
where does Jumpahhh supposed to go to get a kill at this point? That's the difficult part. When all of your lanes have lost pressure to some degree. Delnyy!
Oh, the ball off the wall! I don't know how meant that was, but we'll find out if Jumpahhh can get a kill in response. You were asking for it. Predator's trying to juke out, gets a heal, driving strike, in disguise, Rapio! Predators didn't need Rapio's help there.
No, Hercules is insane. This god does so much damage. That driving strike did half of Jumpahh's HP, and Predators, this is the signature pick for this guy for a reason. Anytime I get to see this man play Hercules, I get excited, and there 2 solo kills by himself. In worst case scenario, Rapio's there to clean him up if Predators were to fall, but that wasn't even in his mind.
Good cataclysm, better ultimate as well from Post, but the collapse isn't good enough. Koiz and Checo have done great work to DineOhSaw, and he's trying to roll out a way. Won't found an exit. Fly was trying to make a rotation to support, but won't happen there, and that's really good for Flashpoint. They need something in this dual lane.
They needed momentum somewhere. It didn't have to be dual lane. They just needed something to start going their way, because the first 7 minutes of this game were fairly disastrous so far. That was beautiful by Michael Checo. That was really all him, who drops the ultimate in response to help out Matt Koiz. And that meditation that Koiz picked up also, I think, threw off the math of Rival's duo lane.
So you can see now Jumpahh's able to come over to the left-hand side and get some farm, but Panda in the mid lane trying to take on 2. He might be able to find Fly with the last shot of Will. The percussive storm was good. DineOhSaw answers it back to make it a 1-for-1. Definitely nice little play from Panda in a 2v1 situation.
I like the aggressiveness. I like to see that even despite that horrendous first blood that went Rival's way, that hasn't shaken Pandamid's confidence too much. But man, that is still a really risky spot to put yourself in. Plus, you're still falling behind of the enemy jungler even more. You're letting Rapio get it further and further ahead of you, and Ratatoskr with a level lead is very difficult to fight into as a mid laner. It's good that he got the kill. I'll say that, because if he chokes that last shot of Percussive Storm and Fly survives and he does not, we would have been in for a long game.
Now, we mentioned Flashpoint's dual lane. Obviously, they did find themselves the first kill on that left-hand side to help out Flashpoint and get themselves back into it. You said it doesn't matter where it comes from, but if I'm in the dual lane and I'm like, okay, my jungler's died, my solo's died, my mid laner's died. Damn, boy, Koiz, we got to do work, says Checo. Yeah. We got to get something going here, and that's what they did, which is really important.
So big for team morale, and especially guys who have competitive experience like Checo and like Koiz, who can, kind of get their team up and off the mat basically at this point, which is where it feels like Flashpoint we're teetering on the edge of falling into that despair.
But it's a big risk-reward situation, I feel, in that dual lane too, by doing that. If you fall there too, your whole team's died, and morale as a whole drops.
Well, it wasn't even that Koiz and Checo were the aggressors. It's, it's punishing Rival, and that's also a big part of it, is that mentality for Rival that, oh, we're just better than these guys across the board. We don't need to worry about anything like that. Put some respect in their mind, you know what I mean? Well, you gotta make them think twice.
Talking to Rival before this game, we had an interview with them, and they were saying that Astral Authority is the team they're most looking towards as their major opposition from North America. Not necessarily looking past Flashpoint because they would have prepared, but they do feel that this is the easier of the 2 teams.
Both of these North American teams are so good that I don't think you can really, either one would have taken exception by being omitted from Rival's comments. Either one would have said, really, you're going to forget about us? So I think that you really can't forget about either of these North American teams.
Is there a difference, though, in Flashpoint and Astral's playstyles? I guess is the real question.
Yeah, I think so. Astral Authority, a little bit more team fight focused, kind of, they use inbound as bait an awful lot, and will sometimes not even get to the team fighting phase because they just dominate that right side so much. Flashpoint, a little bit more focused on what Jumpahhh is doing. Not to say that Astral isn't all about KP at times, or layers, but sometimes Wolves will just take over a game for you. Delny's a much more consistent performer where he's not going to be that all-star, but he's really rarely going to let you down.
And that's one of the reasons that Rival are looking towards Astro, because they feel that the team fight versus team fight is where they may struggle in the situation of, you know, trying to play through Jumpahhh like Flashpoint do. Like they did at the start of this game by invading that speed buff and keeping the pressure going, they kind of neutralize some of what Flashpoint can bring.
I definitely am already looking forward to Predators versus Wolves in that Astral matchup, because Predators is such a the heart and soul of this team at times. If he gets leads and he gets excited, then all of Rival do. But now Rapio in a bit of trouble here. Beads necessary and DineOhSaw's ultimate, so Jumpahhh gets plenty in return for his ultimate, but Vaporish on this rotation trying to put him down.
Well, round the corner comes Panda though to pick up Vaporish Coast. DineOhSaw under pressure too, but round the back comes Panda to fly. Suns come down from Checo, but not good enough to break the health bars of Rival by any stretch of the imagination. Beautiful war from Koiz though, but mid was back in and Rapio caught the laziness there. 1-for-1. Hunter for mid laner.
Panda mid thought he was safe, but anything but that. Rapio tracks him down. Good rotation though, and good ultimate from Panda mid, just a little bit too aggressive from Vaporish on his angle. Predators might just take down Jumpahhh here. Don't think he got that speed buff invade successfully, but still, Jumpahhh so scared to go back and pick up that buff.
Predator's just going to hang around a little bit. If he had his ultimate there, he could have bounced it off the wall again for a double tap onto Jumpahhh. Very lucky situation there overall, but I like the invasion attempts again by Rival.
Is he just Predator's just going to sit there and make sure Jumpahhh doesn't go get this speed buff, and Jumpahhh wisely lets it go. That's the sign of a more mature jungler. I know I'm in there trying to pick up that speed buff now that I finally secured it, but only level 9 for Jumpahhh. Rapio is now level 12.
What needs to happen when Predators is doing that though? What should be the situation? I guess Delnyy pushing up the lane is the best he can do.
It is, but Rapio does a great job of covering that weakness for Predators, sitting there and denying that speed buff from Jumpahhh. If that wave goes under tower, it's just farm lost into the void basically that no one gets, but Rapio makes sure that he picks it up, and he's done a good job of that so far this game. Not sharing too many waves from his laners, but anytime a laner isn't there for a wave, he's making sure that he's there to take it. And that comes from good communication, good map sense. It's really paid off for him. He's up 3.5 levels right now over Jumpahhh.
Well, the first real team fight we saw of the day, I will say. Rival need to work on the communication a little bit. DineOhSaw did use his Cataclysm during the powwow to try and, you know, make sure he stunned Jumpahhh in a bad spot. But hold that, Gold Fury started. DineOhSaw with an early ult, but an early ult from Panda too. Apple off the wall will not connect with a target. Rapio goes up. 3 ultimates used so far, no result for either side.
Flashpoint knows that was a full disengage. Vaporish in some trouble, doesn't get pulled by that powwow, but does get stunned by Koiz.
Knockup was good from DineOhSaw, but not good enough to keep Vaporish Coast alive. He falls down to Koiz. Meanwhile, on this excursion, Checo's trying to pick up DineOhSaw, but Mr. Ricochet, that would have been certain death. Rapio, though, still being chased by Koiz. The loot was there, but it wasn't available in time. So everybody slips out.
Oh, just Checo, no. We're walking right in front of Predators, but a good little disruption from Koiz, I believe, to make sure that Checo doesn't fall. The Huyi's beads were down from that last skirmish right where we are right now on this top left mid, so that would have spelled certain doom in the face of Predators, who is still relying on that base damage. No additional damage items, which is what you expect out of the solo lane, but with the exorbitant lead and the swagger that he's played with so far, it wouldn't have surprised me too much. Doesn't Predators, this is the Omega playstyle on the Hercules, isn't it?
It feels that way.
This isn't
bully everyone.
Yeah, this isn't the mathematically best option, but I don't care because you don't like it.
Can you kill me? No.
Yeah, exactly. Look at his player damage. He's basically doubling the next highest person.
Well, that next highest person is Vaporish Coast, and it's going to bring him up aggro. His positioning has been a little bit awkward here a couple of times, and he's found himself in awkward spots on the rotation towards the supporting mid lane where for the first engagement, the one around the Gold Fury there, gets jumped on by Jumpahhh. His reaction was to drop the ball, which is correct, but he was still in a very difficult position.
Vaporish has played a lot of Uller and Hachiman and these kind of more mobile hunters, at least everyone basically more mobile than Artemis, and has lost that ability to, or kind of missed that ability rather, to jump away and disengage when necessary. So it's certainly something that he needs to keep an eye on.
I'm just a little worried about over-aggression from him, or overconfidence, I guess is the better word for this.
Yeah.
Just seems a little bit overconfident in this one so far. Settle down a bit, wait for your team, stay in the right position more than anything else.
Exactly, and that's, look, he's earned some confidence after after his last few LAN performances last year and the beginning of this year as well. So I like that aggressive nature to a degree. You got to rein it in, though. I agree. It's been a little bit too much, but now he does have an Aegis, so that'll help with that a little bit, at least try and mitigate some of that damage that'll come his way.
Well, Gold Fury focus from Rival here. Predators was wrapping around the back and trying to deal with the onslaught, but the Gold Fury is getting very low. It's getting super low. Rival, get it! Delnyy went for the ultimate, couldn't get it off in time, but in comes Flashpoint.
And Vaporous is in trouble right away. Panda mid here with those Tycho drums, but Koiz is the first to fall. Panda mid is in a ton of trouble, and Predators will knock him down. Delnyy finally tracks down the Artemis, but at what cost?
Rapio still going towards Checo as Predator's chasing him too, but Rapio doesn't realize that Delny's right behind him, can't find the route he was after, as Predators gets onto Jumpahhh once more. Suns down from Checo, slow down Predators, and allow him to escape. 2 for 1, favor of Rival.
And Rival gets the Gold Fury too, don't forget about that. So they end up way ahead in this little engagement. Predators does not want to let Jumpahhh get his speed buff, and that one goes Predators' way, I'm pretty sure.
Man, how annoyed would you be that this Hercules just keeps
So
coming
annoying.
over on rotation for your speed?
I'd be tilted, for sure. And that's the idea. I mean, Rival's a team that will stand in your face and laugh spam you a little bit. They'll let you know that they're feeling themselves, and that can get under your nerves. So something that whoever Flashpoint's coaches need to try and keep in their head, you know, they're trying to tilt you. Don't let it work.
Well, Panda mid now has the Divine Ruin online, as has Fly, both of them with a bit of an anti-heal here. A little bit surprised by seeing Fly go for it, though. Do we really need Divine Ruin?
No, I don't. Well, I guess you have the
Terra?
the Terra ultimate. That's the big one. Is that you kind of it's nice. I don't love it on Discordia, but it's not bad either. Usually the two things I'm looking to check in a box when I buy Divine Ruin, outside of do we need it here, of course, is more along the lines of, can I apply it easily, or can I apply it consistently? Those aren't always the same thing. Discordia not good at applying it consistently, doesn't have a lot of short cooldowns that can hit the AoE of a team fight, but it is very easy to apply with those little balls that come out of Unruly Magic, her first ability.
Just not guaranteed.
It's not guaranteed, but chances are you're going to get anti-heal on most members of the enemy team.
Odds in your favor, but I still think more penetration could have been a better option there.
Yeah, especially if he's going for Soul Gem next, which I do not like on Discordia at all. Doesn't feel another ability or another item that I really like on gods that have low cooldowns that can proc it very, very quickly. Discordia, it's very popular on her, and I still just do not like it. He's really going to miss some penetration with this build, but in his defense, you look at what Delnyy has so far, very little magical defense, just working now on his first magical defense item.
In the mid lane, more pressure going on as a driving strike on the back from Predators. Allows the Apple to double tap. And I love the boulder out from Predators there just in case. Delnyy turns up, a little bit too late to the party to save the tower or his teammates. And now he gets pulled all the way back in to the might of Rival once more. Predators under the tier 2 tower. Look how tanky he is with the shields from Geb. 3 men down and the tier 2 is under pressure.
Man, Rival just turned it on right there in the mid lane, and that's what it takes whenever you have consistently put pressure on the opposition. You're constantly getting buff invades here and there. All of a sudden, it just takes one fight and you're up by 9,000 gold. Now, it was certainly about a lot before that, but around what, 4.5, 5,000 up until this point. Now they're going to get Pyromancer. There'd even be a Fire Giant pull here with Vaporous joining the fray. And that's just great team communication that Jumpahh's relics were down. Panda mid's relics were down. They've got no way to get away from this engagement, and it just takes one big fight for this game to get blown wide open.
I like the fact that you talked about Fire Giant there, because I think that was on the table at that moment in time, but Rival will take the safer option and not make a risky play when they don't need to. The jungle versus mid difference of both these two teams, Rival is so far ahead in those two positions. That's where the real breaking point really is in this game.
It really has been. Predators as well has just been so dominant. And I don't know that it's really Delny's fault. I just think that it's time to ban Hercules, or at least make Rival pick it in the top 3. You cannot. I really do not think you can afford to let Predators pick Hercules in that bottom 2 slot. He's too comfortable on it. He does too much. Yeah, I've seen one game and I'm done with it.
Full focus on Delnyy, but Delny's got his ultimate and will get it off in time. Still under pressure as the apple comes out, spin to win. Looking for the rage transformation, but he won't find it. Too little, too late. Another kill for Rival and another tower in the pocket of the European.
And Rapio has been so far ahead all game long. But I really think it's because Predators has done such a good job of keeping Jumpahhh at bay. I mean, he's been on his XP camps all game long. How many speed buffs has he been present for? Blue buff invades because Predators has pressure in that lane. It all stems from that solo lane that really set him up for success.
Well, Flashpoint would try to make a play on this left-hand side onto Koiz, but Vaporish Koiz is doing a good job as the ball comes through. Hits both and gets the beads out of Checo. In goes Jumpahhh, but he eats the basic from Koiz. 2v1. Get soloed.
Solo. Easy.
Can you call it a solo? Is it 2v1 though?
Yeah, of course he soloed him.
I guess
doubt.
so, you're right.
Panda mid about to get anything but soloed right here in the jungle. Predators.
That was a solo.
I don't know why that was the way that Panda mid ran, but I don't think in his defense there was anywhere to run in that spot. This game it just has Rival all over it right now.
Bit of doom and gloom then for Flashpoint. This is a best of 3 for the fans at home. So Flashpoint, if they do lose this one, get to go back to the drawing board and make some corrections for game 2.
They're gonna need them because it's not only picks and bans, but it just seems like Flashpoint isn't playing with any confidence right now, and that is such a huge part of playing at LAN, is taking the bumps and bruises as they come, not letting them phase you, still trying to stay focused on your goal, and not letting the fact that there's so much pressure on you start to weigh on your mentality, and it seems like that has kind of happened right now for Flashpoint. Jumpahhh has had an abysmal performance on this .G. He's just now hitting level 15, so now he's within 5 levels of Rapio. Panda mid got soloed wave 2 off a terrible decision, and that's not a good sign for the mentality of Flashpoint.
Maybe, just maybe there's a chance for Flashpoint to steal this Fire Giant and give himself a window, but that's not going to be allowed. Delnyy was nearby in the area, but Rapio just making sure that will not be the case here. Fire Giant around all 5 members. Wastes of Rival here now, and it's up to the tier 1 towers. I do say I think the issue Flashpoint have got here is the fact that in their mind they want to farm because they're so far behind.
Right.
But in the grand scheme of things, if they grouped up, they would have a better chance of trying to take on a little bit more.
Earlier,
what Rival have been doing.
Earlier, yes, I agree with you. I'm thinking specifically of that tier 1 tower dive. If that's a 5-on-5, maybe it goes better, but that was such a perfect engage from Rival that maybe it even goes worse. Rival has just had so much control. Look at what Rapio's player damage is. He's below Geb, and he's got 4 kills and 5 assists.
And he's level 20.
And he's level 20 because he just hasn't had to do any damage. Anytime he shows up, Flashpoint's like, no, we're good. Like, we don't want any of this trouble, man. It's cool, it's cool. But it's just been pure dominance from Rival all across the map that Rapio hasn't had to do anything.
Yeah, it's Predators for me that has really allowed to relieve a lot of the pressure at the start of the game. And then Fly getting that solo kill to start. Fly's had a good series too. The other 3 members of Rival haven't had to try too hard. Apple comes out, Boulder 2. That will hit Panda. And in the sky goes Rapio looking for the pickup. The Aegis was good, but the Acorns were better. Checo will get back to safety. The Phoenix is dead. The Cataclysm from DineOhSaw. Rival are committing. This could be a mistake.
Delny's ultimate does get some good damage off, and that range transformation, but Predators' trap was even better. Jumpahh's ultimate used in desperation. Vaporish still had the beads as Jumpahhh is trying to take everyone on a walk, but Vaporish leashes him quickly. Rival absolutely dominant here in game 1.
Found kills in the mid lane and in the solo lane at the start of the game. Predators got a lot of pressure off in the beginning, stealing away speed buffs consistently. It turned into a Gold Fury, that turned into a Pyromancer, that turned into a Fire Giant, that turned into game 1 Rival.
Easily. And the one thing that stood out to me, though, is that Flashpoint, for all the struggles they had a pretty good duo lane. I mean, Koiz and Checo did their best to keep Flashpoint in that game. It's just that mid and jungle were so far behind. And it's not like Delnyy was that far behind. It's just that Predators always had that little bit of an edge, always had that the right spot to be in. It was just doing more in the team fights. And so Delnyy, I think, played fine. It's just that I'm not giving Predators Hercules again, and I'm trying to prioritize my duo lane now as Flashpoint. because maybe we can take advantage of that over-aggression from Big Boris Coast.
With how you're looking at this, though, was the issue more with the solo kill from Fly in the mid lane, or was it from Predator's invasion at the start? These are the two things that happened at the beginning of the game.
Yes, it was both. But
was it one more than the other?
Honestly, I think it was that solo kill onto Panda mid in the early game. The first invade, annoying by Predators. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to deal with that. But it was the consistent invades after that. And part of the reason why that was allowed was because Panda mid was so far behind that he couldn't come help out and contest. That's got to be a rotation from jungle, solo, mid, possibly support to start punishing Predators. But when everyone's so far behind, that can't really happen.
Well, you guys at home get to choose who you think was that MVP. Vote in chat now about who you think on Rival deserves MVP for Game 1.
Predators.
You reckon?
What?
I coughed. Got a 2v1.
I coughed.
Oh,
sorry.
did you?
Yeah.
It sounded very much like Delnyy, even though he's on the wrong team. Let's get over to the nest to break down Game 1.
Predators. I think Ryan's giving me something over here.
Man, it's very contagious. You guys should probably get that checked out. But Predators played fantastic.
Jokes aside, I mean, you want to talk about contagious. Predators' success over there in the solo lane translated to the rest of the squad. Everybody on Rival looked strong. And again, I need to tip my hat to Joey. Because Joey said, look, we're not looking past Flashpoint. Flashpoint is absolutely, and gave them the respect due, and I think that's why this team was so successful against Flashpoint, was because they didn't look past them. They won last tournament, and they still take all three teams out here as seriously as possible, and I think that really led to them finding the victory here.
I think that Rival had the better draft, and they played it that way as well. Like the solo kill to start off the game, Fly basically soloed him. There was like no sort of pressure from Rapio. He was there around the corner that barely got the assist range to get the gold. And off of that one kill, on top of the 1v2 in the solo lane, that's what really just started to snowball there, because Delnyy got a 3-level deficit. It was getting really troublesome for the early pick DineOhSaw.
Yeah, don't forget world champion Delnyy, right? I mean, this is a myth team, right?
Yeah.
These are guys that are very strong at what they do. I'm with you, Totally. It was Jumpahhh in the jungle that kind of left me a little bit hungry. I just didn't see what the DineOhSaw was able to do. We talked a lot about team fight with respect to the Terra and DineOhSaw and everybody, but the problem was if you can't get to said team fight, well, then all of that bonus doesn't really matter. So a great job by Rival, specifically solo laner Predators, who winds up with the most valuable player award here. Great job, chat. Y'all got it right.
And this 1v2 specifically, keep in mind, the Hercules passive gives you power as you're taking damage. Alongside the DineOhSaw, if you got the most player damage in your team, so combined collectively between the Hercules passive and Discordia, between level 7 and 8, during the 1v1 against Delnyy, he had 55 power collectively, extra bonus power.
On top of what he already had.
Yeah, and then once Jumpahhh joined into the fray, he hit level 8, and then all of a sudden that became a 60 bonus power between the two passives, really allowing so much aggression from Predators, which is what he's known for.
Yeah, there he is running your screen, Rapio in the background. Predators being the man that his name would imply. Just coming off at the top, and the 1v2, I mean, that's so impressive to me, because a lot of what MOBAs is just numbers. Look, I beat you 4 times in the early game, so I just have a better item than you, and mathematically I'm better than you. Predators came out there and got himself in that mathematical position because of the play he had. The 1 versus 2, you broke down the numbers totally, but it was also, he hit everything. He got himself out of the minion wave. He made all the right decisions, down to when he used his Hercules heal. I mean, just everything smart. Wound up giving him the lead. Delnyy, not so happy.
The positioning of the boulder was also really impressive, to be able to cut back and find the last hit onto Delnyy. Very unfortunate stuff for the Kukulkan, and you got to keep that in the back of your mind when you're dealing with a Hercules, that you don't have to hit him necessarily. You just got to clear the wave and ignore him, because between the Hercules passive and the Discordia passive in the mid lane, you're not winning any sort of basic attack exchanges anytime soon.
And don't forget, I mean, Herc's got the heal.
Yeah.
Y'all both have the warrior blessing, so y'all both getting that. That's a wash. And then Hercules can mitigate wounds, and Kukulkan can't. So you wind up there's a very big health differential there coming out from the solo laners. Again, I want to look at the jungle, though. Rapio, fantastic job on the Ratatasker. Predators, I think, is MVP because he just winds up with the highlight reel. I mean, this guy played for the Jiffy Cat and did so. Rapio became the facilitator for me a little bit later, though.
I think Rapio got a lot of a benefit between Fly's kill and then Predators 1v2, and he transitioned that well. But the way Predators was playing, it's like he had a little chip in his head, and that chip was telling him to consistently focus out Jumpahhh.
Yeah.
He ignored Delnyy in the backline. I think it was in this team fight where Delnyy was very low in the backline, but he was Predators was chasing Jumpahhh the whole entire time. So much so that he chased him all the way to the speed buff and stole it with the pull.
What I love